What's up, YouTube? You know what it is when you clicked it. It's your man Soul, and I'm here with my Death Knight talent build setup for Wrath of the Lich King. I'm going to be going over some of the builds that I'm probably going to be using in WOTLK Classic and some of the builds that you should pay attention to. So without further ado, let's jump right in. First things first, let me take a swig of this water. And I'm going to be dispelling some stereotypes about Death Knights real quick. Number one, it is a 99.9% chance that we're going to get the patch 3.35 build of Wrath, right? So that means that Death Knights aren't the mastodontish tanks that you remember them to be. They are more in line with the other tanks in balancing. Like, they're not overpowered. And I know it's hard to believe, it's going to hurt a lot of people's souls, no pun intended, that Death Knights, you can't just hit create character and waltz into any raid or any dungeon and be the best. Sorry. If that's what you was expecting, a lot of things are going to humble you quickly. That's number one. Number two, as I'm building this up, you're going to quickly realize that some of the things you probably remember or are misremembering about Death Knight aren't true. Like needing a two-handed weapon to tank. Yeah, I know, we're going to get into it. Like being able to tank in Frost and Unholy. Pardon me. We're going to get into all that. So, but without further ado, I'm going to jump right in, and we're going to start with the 10-man and 25-man build. So first things first, let's do 10-man. If you don't know, a lot of Death Knights, a common build for Death Knights in 10-man is going blood with the double aura build. And what double aura means is you are providing both the Abomination's Might and the improved Icy Talons talent. So that's 10% extra attack power and 20% melee haste for your raid. Obviously, in 25-man, you're still going to get Abomination's Might regardless, so you're always going to bring that, but improved Icy Talons is probably the one that you're not going to need, because chances are there's going to be a Frost DK, there's going to be an Enhanced Shaman somewhere along the line, so this is the one that you're probably not going to need, but you're probably always going to have Abomination's Might. But let's jump in. Alright, so for tanking, definitely need Blade Barrier. Just makes it so when you spend your blood runes, you get a 5% DR for 10 seconds. Easy, lets you stay alive longer. Cut and dry. Skip Butchery, that's a leveling talent. Skip Subversion, that's trash. Next, you get Bladed Armor, max that pup out. It's just 180, 5 attack bar for every 180 armor value you have. It's easy passive threat that costs you nothing. Next things next, we're going to go Scent of Blood. I like to go 2 out of 3 instead of 3 out of 3. Sometimes some people even go 1. I like to go 2 just to have that little bit of extra runic power. You got to understand that each talent point you invest does not increase the chance of it activating. It increases how many melee hits will generate the extra runic power. So that's what you have to bear in mind. After that, we are skipping two-handed weapon specialization. I'm going to touch base on this right now just so we can knock it out the way. Death Knights are a lot like, if you play TBC, they're a lot like Druids. Weapons are merely stat sticks. We don't attack with them. We don't get a Wind Fury buff from them, even though Death Knights actually do. That's funny. But yeah, they just are just for stats. Stamina, strength, or whatever stats else. We don't care about how much damage you deal with a weapon. We don't care about increasing strikes damage with your weapon. None of that matters. You know what matters? Icy Touch. Nothing you do single target wise will generate more threat than Icy Touch and Frost Presence. Let that sink in and wrap your mind around that right now, because if you think, hey, I'm supposed to be the striking guy and I'm gonna go in as a blood and do the most damage as a tank, stop right there. Clearly this ain't the one for you. See yourself out the door. Icy Touch is what we are all about. Icy Touch and stamina. So we are skipping two-handed weapon specialization because we don't need it. It does not improve Icy Touch. Doesn't matter. In fact, the best, most common way to gear a Death Knight tank, in terms of weapons, that is, you just take the best weapon that's available. If I'm not mistaken, in phase 1, the best weapon you can have in phase 1, meaning Nax, I believe is dual wielding the 2 axes from Naxxramas, if I'm not mistaken, which I could be. But you see how, and you're gonna get a lot of funny looks. I'm gonna probably dual wield too. You're going to get a lot of funny looks from people saying, oh, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. Lo and behold, you do know what you're doing. Just relax. Tune out all that noise and just have confidence in yourself. Moving on. Next, mandatory talent, Death Rune Mastery. This is just like Reaping in the Unholy Tree or Blood of the North in the Frost Tree. It's just make sure Death Strike convert your runes to Death Runes, so you're free to use any ability that you want. Easy, love it. Next mandatory, Rune Tap, quite easy. Lets you spend blood runes to fuel Blade Barrier and heals you for 10% of your maximum health on a minute cooldown. It means we're definitely getting improved. This makes it so your Rune Tap heals you for 100% more and changes the cooldown from a minute to 30 seconds. Every 30 seconds you're healing for what, 20% of your maximum health? You can't beat that. Next things next, something that is very important for a Death Knight and what makes them probably, well, in a large part, it makes them probably the best magic tank, Spell Deflection. What this does is, based off of your parry chance, makes you take 45% less damage from a direct spell. And if you don't know anything about Wrath, there's a lot of direct spells in Wrath. The various dragon breaths alone, to me, warrants this talent. We have Saltharian, we have Halion, we have Syndragosa, we have Malygos, we have Onyxia, we have the Icy Strikes from Anubarak, we have the Twin Valks fight. We have so many different variations of direct magic damage. How could you not take this talent? Vendetta is a leveling talent, and even in leveling, I don't really take that talent, so we skip that. Next thing you want, Veteran of the Third War, strength, stamina, and expertise, all the things that a tank wants, can't beat it. Mark of the Blood is an interesting pick. So it's an optional talent. You can take this, especially if you're off tanking, which you will be a lot of the times, especially early on in Wrath, because Death Knights aren't the greatest tanks, aren't the greatest main tanks, well, I'll say, in early Wrath. So this can help out your, this can help you and your main tank out. If you throw it up, the boss will heal them for a small percentage. I personally don't take this talent. I think you can allocate this talent point somewhere else that'll suit you better. And I think Mark of the Blood is a really weak cooldown for 3 minutes. Like in my head, I'm thinking, all right, a 3-minute cooldown. Like Metamorphosis is a 3-minute cooldown, but it warrants it. Like I don't think Mark of Blood does, so I skip it. You can take it if you want. You can move on with that. So we're gonna take Abomination's Might. This is part of the double aura build that we're building for our 10-man set. We're gonna take Bloody Strikes. We're not taking Bloody Strikes for the Blood Strike or the Hard Strike damage. We're really taking it for the Blood Boil damage because you want to be able to effectively AoE tank. Here we're gonna take Hysteria. People know and love Hysteria. You're gonna throw it on your highest physical pumper and call it a day. Sell it if you want. Hey, 20 gold for who wants Hysteria, who wants the parts today. I know I'm gonna do that, some of the pug runs or whatever. But yeah. And then we're gonna go back up. So from this point on, I like to get 5 out of 5 in Dark Conviction. 5% crit, can't beat it. That 5% crit is gonna fuel more of your icy touches, so gotta love it. And then I go 1 point in the Bloody Vengeance, just because it's a pretty decent threat option. Like it's not the best, but hey, a 1% bonus to physical damage, stacking 3 times for 30 seconds. For 30 seconds, that's the kicker. The 30-second time. That's a long time for a buff like that. So why not? And then I do Improved Death Strike. Again, not really for the damage or the crit chance, but for the healing. 50% healing is a chunky amount of healing. You're gonna be healing yourselves between Improved Death Strike, Improved Rune Tap, and now we're gonna grab Vampiric Blood. You're gonna be healing yourself for a lot. I'm gonna touch base on Improved Blood Presence and Bloodworms. So Improved Blood Presence lets you retain the 2% healing from the Blood Presence while you're tanking in Frost Presence, right? This healing is so minimal that it's hard for me to recommend it, especially when you have a talent like Bloodworms available. Bloodworms is the same small trickle healing, but the benefit of the Bloodworms are doing damage, right? So there's 2 trickle healing options. One does damage, one doesn't. Which one you think you should pick, right? I personally don't pick either of these. Sometimes I will go back and I'll pick Bloodworms. Like Bloodworms is cool in like 5-man content. Like Bloodworms, like they'll shine, but in 25-man and 10-man, like nah, I don't really care. So I skip these 2, but you can take either one if you really want that little bit of healing. Sure, go for it, have a blast. Next things next, Will of the Necropolis. Obviously, this is the poor man's Ardent Defender, but damage that would bring you to 35 or while you're at 35 is reduced by 15%. It's pretty good. like a small built-in cooldown. And that's really it for the blood tree, right? You may be saying to yourself, if you're new to Death Knight or you're new to like Wrath in general, whoa, he didn't take Heart Strike, he didn't go for Blood Gorge, he didn't go for Dancing Rune Weapon. I'm going to touch on all of that. First things first, Sudden Doom, Might of Malgrain, these are DPS talents. You could take them for, I guess, the extra threat, but again, I think they're just waste of talent points for what we're trying to do, so I skip them. Heart Strike. So, Heart Strike is a better version of Blood Strike, and it will replace Blood Strike in the rotation. That's really it for a Heart Strike, right? That's really where the benefits stop. The reason being is that Heart Strike is, yes, it's a single target nuke, but it's also a cleave, right? So that means it should be really, really good in 2 target scenarios, right? The problem is Heart Strike will nowhere, in no time period, generate more threat than Icy Touch, Tab Icy Touch on 2 targets. And for that reason, it's really not worth it. Wasting the talent point doesn't really make sense when, if I'm taking 2 things and I hit Icy Touch on one, Tab Icy Touch on the next, and now I have the maximum amount of threat, what was the point of me taking Heart Strike in the first place? Now, you can take Heart Strike. I'm sure if you take it and someone sees you use it, like, the general populace won't even bat an eye. The real Death Knight players will be like, oh, this guy's trash. Like, he took Heart Strike for what? But yeah, I'm not taking it. So that's where the buck stops for the blood talents. Next, we're going to go into the Frost Tree, where we get some of the goodies. So all tanks have a toughness talent. This is your version. 5 out of 5, max it out. Improved Icy Touch. You know it. We love Icy Touch. We sleep with Icy Touch. We walk with Icy Touch. We spin the block with Icy Touch. Gonna grab it. The next, so you got a couple options here. You can go Runic Power Mastery, Icy Reach, or get Black Ice. I personally like Icy Reach. I think having an increased range on your Icy Touch is more beneficial than just having like a 2 or 3% or 2 or 6% increased Frost and Shadow damage. You could argue that having the extra Runic Power is cool too, but when I play tank, like I've been tanking for a while, when I tank, I tend to always err on the side of quality of life and caution. Like, my job is to survive hits. My job is to make the raids damage dealers have an easier time. So if I have to move 10 yards less to get to something, that's good. Like, if someone butt pulls and I'm already standing at max range and I just toss an Icy Touch at them, now they're on me. So I love Icy Reach. From there, we're going to go 5 out of 5 Icy Talons. Not really for this talent, but because it's a means to an end to get to improved Icy Talons. But you got to get it in. I mean, sure. Having more attack speed, cool, why not? Next things next, Killing Machine. So generally, I would go, sometimes I do 4 out of 5. You could really go 3 and be cool and you be all right. Like, I like to go 4 just because I like to have that little bit of extra chance to get that Icy Touch crit. But you know what? Let's go 3 because I do want to save some talents just to make this thing full. So we're going to go 3. We're going to get Endless Winter, 4% strength. Remember, strength converts to parry in Wrath of the Lich King, and having a free interrupt. Why not? Next things next, Frigid Dreadplate. This is just straight up a chance for melee attacks not to hit you at 3%. And then I like Glacier Rot. So here's where like you put like your 2 so you can get improved Icy Talons. Now we have 2 talent points left. There's a couple things you could do. Normally what I do is I put Killing Machine at 4, and then early on I could do Virulence for that 1% spell hit chance. Like, Icy Touch is a spell, so it falls under the spell hit guidelines, so it's not the what is it, 9% that you need for melee attacks. It's a little bit higher, so I like Virulence. But if I'm already have enough hit, because you don't want to be too married to hit as a tank, because it's not really necessary. It's necessary, but it's not as important as you think. If I didn't want this, I would just take this out and get anticipation for that extra dodge percentage. And yeah, this is what a 10-man comp kind of looks like. This is what a 10-man build, my bad, 10-man build, not 10-man comp, 10-man build kind of looks like. You got your double auras, you got some more defensive talents like Frigid Dreadplate and Endless Winter, and you still got some quality of life stuff. You got Icy Reach, you got Killing Machine. Yeah. This is what I'm rocking with as a 10-man. Now, you could take that point out and get Lichborn. Sure, that's an option. There's a couple things that will put a fear on you, and having your own fear break is great. Also, you can make a macro and spam Death Coil on yourself as an undead, as a Lichborn mob. So yeah, you can do that. I personally don't take it. I go here, or my bad, go here. But yeah, see, there's a lot of options here. But this is the general 10-man build that I would use as a Death Knight, right? So now let's clean this up. Now we're in 25-man, right? So let's reset this and reset this. Now 25-man, there's a much higher chance that somebody's going to be there with improved Icy Talent. So you probably won't need to have to spec into the double aura build, right? So me personally, what I still like to do is I like to get toughness. Again, I'm always erring on the side of caution. I'm getting improved Icy Talents because gotta generate threat, and I like Icy Reach. Stopping right there. The next 18 is going right into the Unholy. So for me, 25-man, max out Anticipation, right? I max out Epidemic. I'm a big fan of duration increases because the less times I have to spend refreshing a buff, the more I can spend actually pressing my nuke button. So, and that's just DPS mindset, but that's really for anything. Like healers, if you have a longer duration on Renew or Rejuvenation, you can use other spells, more efficient spells. Same thing with Death Knight. If I have a longer duration on Blood Plague and Frost Fever, I don't have to waste those Unholy Runes on Plague Strikes as often, right? Next talent points, Morbidity. This is going to reduce the cooldown of Death and Decay by 15 seconds. It's going to make your trash pulls and raids go a lot smoother. It's going to be able to keep up the pacing a lot, especially in raids like Nax that have a lot of trash, or like Old Water have a lot of trash, ICC, stuff like that. So this talent alone, I think is cool. Next, I take Ravenous Dead. Again, we like strength, 3% extra strength, plus you get a little ghoul, little ghoul power up there. Now, there's a couple things you can do with these last 5 remaining talent points. Me, I like to do this. I put my 2 in Necrosis, and then I get a shortened cooldown on Army of the Dead. Army of the Dead is probably your most powerful cooldown, right? It's your longest cooldown too. So having more accessibility to Army of the Dead, I like. I'm not saying this is the end all be all, this is the way you're supposed to do things, but this is what I like. Now you don't have to do this. You can take your 4 points and you can do, or 5, my bad. You can take your 5 points and go straight up all in Icy Talents. That's an option. If you really want that extra melee attack speed, you can get Lichborn and you can get Black Ice for that extra 8% increased Frost and Shadow damage for your dots. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. Personally, I think Black Ice and Necrosis are kind of the same thing. This makes your auto attacks generate extra shadow damage, just increases your dot damage. Like, it's almost the same thing. Obviously, if you put more points in Black Ice, it's going to do more damage than Necrosis, but it's kind of the same thing. And Lichborn is not always needed. Like, they're going to be, like, Lichborn is just going to be sitting in your spell book, like, collecting dust. So that's why I don't always take Lichborn, but for me, my 10-man build, that you could, if you don't care about the shortened cooldown on Army of the Dead, you can take that out. You can get Blood Cake Weapon. Easy. Blood Cake Weapon is a nice little bonus to your auto attack damage, improving your single target threat. I'm not mad at this either. Like, this is a very, very viable thing. Probably better on when you have lesser gear, like lower haste levels for the rune cooldown, stuff like that. So this will help out in some of those rune droughts or runic power droughts. So yeah, I'm not mad at this build. Either Blood Cake Weapon or not in the Dead, easy. But this is generally what you're going to be looking at in terms of a 25-man build. Notice how didn't really change anything in the blood tree. These are pretty much set. There's flexible things you can do. You can take one talent out of Dark Conviction and put that into Simple Blood. You can do a lot. There's a lot, but this is what I'm most comfortable with. Now let's talk glyphs real quick. So glyphs, I think there's only one near mandatory one, right? The only near mandatory one is, to me, Dark Command. Having your taunt always hit, to me, because I've been tanking for a while and I kind of have some PTSD, especially playing Classic. Having your taunt either be missed or resisted just feels like they sacrifice your firstborn. Like, it sucks. So removing that option, I think, is always good and makes it damn near mandatory, right? Next, Glyph of disease. Again, I'm a big quality of life guy. This is like the epitome of quality of life. It makes your pestilence refresh your diseases on your primary target back to their maximum duration, meaning you don't have to spend a frost and an unholy rune to refresh your dots. You can spend one blood rune. That's amazing to me. Next things next, I gotta go with, just from the tank in me, Vampire Blood. Straight up 5 seconds on your duration of Vampire Blood. That turns it into a 15-second duration, which means the effective cooldown is 45 seconds. So every 45 seconds, you're increasing your health by 15% and you're increasing your healing received by 35%. That just really smoothens out your damage intake. It's going to feel amazing healing you. It's going to feel like they're not even doing any work. So I love Vampire Blood. So there are some other ones that I didn't mention. I think the first one you probably forego is Glyph of disease if you're changing up, because while it's really, really good quality of life, it's not mandatory. And it's nothing defensively. Like it doesn't improve anything defensively. The next one I would do that's pretty unsung is probably Glyph of Death and Decay. This combined with Morbidity talent is going to make your AoE pulls that much better. Like you're gonna be able to drop Death and Decay and nothing's gonna run out of it. It's literally gonna be like the red ring of death from the Xbox 360. Like Death and Decay is the shit when you have the Glyph and Morbidity. The next Glyph I'd probably say is Anti-Magic Shell. Right? Anti-Magic Shell, that extra 2 seconds may not seem like a lot, but again, you gotta think about all of the magic damage that you're gonna take in Wrath. All of the dragon breaths, all of the undead casters, all of the magic strikes you're taking. Like, think about it. Onyxia, Malygos, Halion, Saltharion, Syndragosa, the Lich King himself, Anubarak. Like, it just goes on. I know I said that list, but it just goes on and goes on. So this one can really save you for those magic damage heavy fights. And this, like I said, this plus spell deflection really sets you apart from the other tanks as a magic tank. Like you really become a magic tank. And that's really it for the glyphs. Like there's a lot of glyphs here. There's a lot of trap glyphs too. Like stay the fuck away from Rune Strike. Like if you see a guide that says this shit, that guide is trash and you trash for reading it. Stay the fuck away from Glyph of Dancing Rune Weapon. We don't have that. Stay away from Glyph of Death Strike. Stay away from all this other stuff that doesn't mean anything. Blood Strike. Anything that you don't have. Dark Death. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. I did forget. Rune Tap. Rune Tap is a powerful glyph. Yes. So what this does is now increases the effect of your Rune Tap by an additional 10%. So remember, 10% maximum health from taking the talent, 100% effectiveness, that's 20%, and now another 10%. And every time you press Rune Tap, you're healing your party for 10% of their maximum health. So it has a little bit of that supportiness that Death Knights are severely lacking, right? So Glyph of Rune Tap, yes, I'm surprised I forgot about that one. But yeah, Glyph of Rune Tap, definitely. I'm not mad at anybody who uses Glyph of Rune Tap. So you got some options. To go with here. Minor glyphs, I mean, Pestilence is probably Pestilence and Horn of the Winter. And then fill in whatever your favorite other one is. Like, that's really it. Pestilence increases the radius, Horn of the Winter increases the duration. Again, I'm a fan of duration ones, so yeah. Those two, and then pick your favorite third. But that's really it. That's really it for the Death Knight builds. Notice how I didn't say anything about the Unholy tanking build or the Frost tanking build. I know I briefly touched on it in the beginning, but let me just say this one more time. Yes, Death Knight started out as a class that you can tank in all three specs. That's what it was marketed as outside of being a hero class. Once they got the balancing right, those things are really became far removed. Now you can kind of make a pseudo build for Unholy tanking. Like if you go take some Blood Talents and then put the rest in Unholy, you could become a really potent magic tank. And that's where I say everything else stops. Like Frost doesn't really like Frost was meant for physical tanking, and then there's just not like a lot. There's a large amount of physical damage, but not enough to warrant using a gimmicky sub spec. Like I would never go a Frost spec or Unholy spec if I'm being a serious tank. Like you're never gonna see a serious Unholy or Frost tank. Like you'll probably see it like gimmicky shit on Warcraft logs or something, like people trying shit out, but you're never gonna legitimately see somebody who's just 100% an unholy tank or 100% a frost tank. It's not gonna be a thing. So that's why I didn't really touch base on it, but I just figured I'd mention it just in case somebody has some questions. But yeah, that's it for the video. I had a lot of fun doing this. Death Knight is my favorite class, if you couldn't tell. Like, even to this day, I love Death Knight. I played it for years on retail. I have been dabbling with it for the last couple of months and on Warmain, just rekindling my love for it, and I love it. I can't wait for WOTLK Classic, and I'm happy I could bring some knowledge and some light to how great Death Knights are. So if you had any questions or you like the video or anything, hit that like hit and drop a comment. Let me know what you're feeling about this video. Subscribe if you want to see more content. Other than that, you guys have been great, and I've been Soul. I'm out. Big peace.